Hey, Peggy. It's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm really well. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Beautiful. And thank you so very much for being here. I truly appreciate it. And you see, Peggy, oftentimes I love to thank my guests for two things. And I do this so often to the point where it has become my anthem because of how important it means to me. So, firstly, I want to say thank you so very much, Peggy, for investing in yourself. You see, you are on this platform right now because you invested in yourself. And oftentimes, I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. See, Peggy, some months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, there was this tall, unattractive mango tree. And I use the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves were all dry. So I just walked past it and I went my way. But you see, Peggy, just recently, I was on that same road. And this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree. You see, the mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance. And immediately I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did, and it wowed me. Because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it, beautiful green leaves and healthy branches. Not just mangoes now, but ripe mangoes. It was a special moment for me that day. I was so excited. I tell you, I was so excited. It was as though I won the lottery. I was so excited. Here's my point. The fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing Peggy that you are today, that alone has made it really impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you see you got the request from me to be on the show because I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing, your work, your philosophies, your insight, how you're offering your solution, and the impact your solution is having. It's amazing. And just before you got the
Thank
request
you.
from me, Peggy, yeah, I said to myself, I've got to benefit from those beautiful things Peggy is doing. Not only me now, but even the audience. And here we are today with the amazing Peggy. So thank you so very much for investing in yourself. And secondly, thank you for saying yes to the invite. Because if Peggy had said nope, there was nothing Elisha could do about it. Thank you so much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
You're so welcome.
Beautiful. So let's get started. You see, Peggy, I'm quite excited to have you on the show today for, let's see, two reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, Peggy, I believe it takes the application of knowledge. And not just knowledge now, but the application of it. And you see, Peggy, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness means ignorance, I've been so keen to
Mm.
knowledge seek it because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the audience. The second reason why I'm excited to have the amazing Peggy on the show is for the sake of the listeners. You see, Peggy, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got lots of information flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality, eye-opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So for that reason, Peggy, let's get started with your introduction.
Okay.
Talk to us about your personal or professional journey, because right now we are so curious. We want to know how Peggy
Okay.
got here. Then afterwards, I've
Thank you.
gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Peggy, over to
Okay.
you.
So, a little bit about me, I guess. I am a medical intuitive and I'm 55 years old. And I only just discovered that I had these crazy gifts about a year ago. Prior to that, I was just a teacher. I was probably 8 years ago, I was an atheist. I wasn't even spiritual. I worked in a prison and I worked with the juvenile detention center, and there was the guards just lost control, and there was this huge riot. I had to hide in a closet. It was an awful, traumatic experience. But at that point, I've been working there for 5 years, and I had a lot of physical issues. I had a lot of insomnia. I had lots of problems. So by the time that riot broke out, I was a pretty broken person. I was really traumatized from that event, and I tried to find some solutions. I went down the the traditional talk therapy. But then I got asked to go to this psychic, and I did not believe in this stuff. I was like, there's no way. How does she know that stuff? This psychic knew everything about me. And that just blew my mind open, and it started me on this spiritual path. So I went from psychic readings to channeled readings then I discovered meditation. And in meditation, that's where I really healed a lot of my stress. And I went on this self-healing journey. And in my meditations, I'd have these crazy blissful states of joy and bliss. And I was like, there is something out there. There is something very tangible that I'm connecting with here. And it just broke open my heart space. So I continued to meditate. I did all sorts of things. You name it, I tried it. Every spiritual podcast that I could find myself, I'd listen to it. And then I discovered this guy called Patrice Christofiak, who was my mentor. He wasn't my mentor at the time. He was a medical intuitive. I had a 2-hour session with him. And at the end of the session, he said to me, "You're a medical intuitive as well." He said he could read all my gifts. And I just said, I cannot believe this. This is completely false. But he tested me, and I was able to read bodies, clear things, and it just totally blew my mind. And that is the quickest version that I can give you around how I went from atheism to now I channel light beings. I speak light language. I help people release dark entities and demons from their body. I clear past lives, all these crazy things that I didn't even think was possible. Hard to prove by science, but it's happening in sessions every day with my clients.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But I'm still a bit curious, okay? So can you talk to us more about your experience, the prison experience? You mentioned the riots. What exactly happened?
Well, there was a boy there was a whole series of events that happened prior to this. There was many different things that happened between the union and the guards and, all these things. This boy got in a fight with another boy, and he broke a table. He took the table legs off the bottom. And the people that were the 2 guards at the time that were in this classroom, they were not able to restrain these huge boys. And they brandished the weapons of the broken legs, and then they started smashing windows. So I was in an adjacent classroom, and all the windows were all glassed over, so we couldn't tell where they were. So I was hiding in one corner of the classroom, and then all of a sudden, this massive smash, the whole window smashed in on me. Mm. I had glass all over my head. And then, of course, they didn't want to do anything to me because I was the teacher, but they wanted to break their mates out. So they all broke out of the prison, and they were all holding weapons. And at that time, the guards were told they weren't allowed to restrain any boys if they were holding weapons or like poles or anything because of risk of injury. So we were told we had to just go hide. So I had to hide in this closet for 4 hours when the helicopters. Anyway, they ended up taking control of the prison for 48 hours. And it was a really awful scene. And they destroyed every single window and every single building in the whole prison. So the whole place imploded. And because I didn't really have a job to go back to, and I really had loved that job, it was this big crisis of confidence for me, and this crisis of like, who am I? What am I doing? Because I couldn't go back to that job. The whole place was destroyed, and they had to move the boys in different adult prisons that were over an hour and a half away from where I was living. And it was very traumatic, for one, because the whole system let the boys down. Secondly, I was scared for my life. I was, my whole family just said, "What are you doing? Why?" I had 2 children, 2 young girls at the time. And they just said, "We can't do that," because you weren't allowed to have mobile phones. So you're just stuck in there, and they don't know why I can't pick them up from school or where I am. It was pretty bad. And I was shaking probably for, I don't know, I think it took a few days for me to calm down. It was pretty bad. So I was really at a low point when I came out of that prison. Yeah, picking out glass out of my hair, for a couple of, and my shoes, I kept finding glass everywhere, all this shattered glass. Yeah, it was awful.
Okay, so back to the medical intuitives. How do medical intuitives help people heal?
Well, there's all different types of medical intuitives. And I guess at the moment, we don't have a standardized, standardized certification process. So every medical intuitive is a little bit different. The way some medical intuitives can just scan bodies and just get a read of what's going on in the body. And then that just helps the person have a bit more information that they can take to their doctor, or, they might get to the root cause of what's happening. Myself and the people that I work with, I don't even know how to describe this, but I don't scan, I don't get the visuals, I don't get an X-ray vision. I get what we call a knowing in my body, in my head. And what I do is, for example, if you have back pain, I get a cognitive hit of something in my head that tells me what's happening in that back pain. It could be an attachment, an entity. It could be a stuck emotion. And then with your permission, I clear it. So, and if you know the movie The Green Mile, I don't know if you're aware of that movie. There's this character in the movie called John Coffey, and he is in a prison, and he's this mystical, magical inmate who's on death row. And he's this huge guy. And one of the other inmates had a little pet mouse, and this mouse runs away. And John Coffey grabs the mouse that had been crushed by the guard. He puts the crushed mouse in his hand. And there's this sort of mystical moment where he is with his own energy force and his high vibration and his willpower. The mouse heals, and he vomits up this green stuff and flies fly out of his mouth. So it's all obviously CGI. So it's very weird to see that. I'm just like a normal, regular looking person. But when I move energy from someone's body, with their permission, of course, they have to want to release it, I will physically vomit. I will shake, I will yawn, I will cry, I'll burp. It's a real visceral experience of me shifting energy. The people feel it in their bodies, and their pain disappears, or they have quite a big release. Some people shake and move and cry. It's kind of can I prove it? I can't prove it, but it's just what I know, what my clients tell me. And so what are we actually doing is a very good question. I guess I tune into the divine frequencies that are there for everybody to tap into, whoever you believe in. And I have, I guess, I have the ability to hold a very high vibration and high frequency, and that energetically, and even over Zoom, people can feel that, and they feel a lightness in their body. So I hold the space, and it shifts the darkness. I guess that's the best way to describe it. I don't know how else to describe it, because it's literally just, you have to experience it to believe it, I guess. For people who are not into energy work or they don't feel or see energies, it is quite a big stretch. And I've definitely have had friends that have just gone, "What are you talking about, Peggy? I have no idea what you're talking about." And then the clients that end up seeing me, the ones that they know what's happening and they can feel it. And, they send me emails of, my pain is gone, or I felt it relief, or I feel so much lighter, or now I can take a deep breath, or my throat's not sore anymore. I don't get headaches. So that's how I know it's working. And of course it worked for me when I had my session with my mentor, Patrice Christofiak. I was very curious because I'd had these digestive issues, and I'd been meditating, and I'd been doing all the right things, eating well. I've been, doing everything I possibly could. And I was feeling pretty good, but there were these niggling things like digestive issues, and I had some knee pain. And he just said, "You have an entity in your stomach." He removed it, and literally in probably a few days, all my stomach issues went away. And then it took me about 4 months, but I started running again, and I hadn't been able to run for like 10 years. Because I used to play basketball, and I used to be quite competitive. Yeah. And I tore my ligament, my ACL a couple of times. And then I just had this, this knee pain. And yeah, he gave me a protocol to use. And in 4 months I was running. So amazing. I knew it worked because it is pretty amazing. And I mean, I've been in sessions. So I did joint sessions with him for about 6 months. And I still do collaborations with him and a group of other people on this medical intuitive directory that I'm part of. And and through the people that I work with, we all get the same things. And so part of the thing is when I'm sitting with a client, I get a mirrored symptom of what the person has. So I'll just sit down and I'll go, oh, do you have neck pain? They go, yeah. So I have the same neck pain that person has. And then I'll say, oh, do you get hip, is your right hip? And they go, yeah, my right hip, because I have the same right hip pain. So that's how my gifts show up for me, as I get these mirrored symptoms, and that's where I know where I have to move. And sometimes they might have a heart problem that I just go, look, your throat is really caught. There's a lot of stuff there. And they go, yeah, it's always mucousy, and I, then we ask a few questions and they don't speak their truth. They hold back. And so all those stuck emotions energetically can really cause a lot of problems.
I tell you, it's amazing what you're doing. These things are very, very, I tell you, no, I love it. So you had an encounter with Spirit and Jesus. What did you learn from that encounter?
Well, Jesus shows up all the time, but one of the most incredible things about Jesus, he's actually got quite a sense of humor. I know people don't understand that. Healing doesn't have to be all serious, you know that. Jesus has an incredible sense of humor, but the presence of his love is like nothing you can. It's unmatched in terms of the spirits that show up for me personally. Everybody's a bit different, but when Jesus is there, I'm like, right, okay, the big guns are here, as they say in Australia. Jesus is in the house and we know things are going to move. Yeah, his presence is so loving and so powerful. It's unbelievable. And of course, it always makes me cry, when he's here. Those first few times when he was there, and I was like, it's a really powerful presence.
Yeah, very, very powerful. So we have 2 more questions to go. It's been a very interesting moment with Peggy on the show. I love how you are making it easy to understand, answering those questions. Okay, so what does it mean to surrender to your soul journey? Got it?
Yeah. So this is a really, this is a good question. I really appreciate that question. So I guess for me, the way I look at Earth experience is like, it's an Earth game, right? This is a experience that we signed up for as human beings. So we choose our experiences before we even come, whether that is bankruptcy at 42, divorce at 35. We choose a lot of those experiences ourselves, right? Because that's what we want to experience. We want to experience that duality. Earth is part of this duality. We have fear, frustration, jealousy, envy, anger, and then we have this love, joy, compassion, bliss, and we are here to experience the 2 of those things. Full surrender to our soul journey is understanding that duality, right? And to have the full range and the experience, and not to fight against what is showing up for us, but to surrender to the process. So, it can be as simple as, I explained this story in the past, but, my old job, this is before I was fully spiritually awakened, constantly complaining. My boss didn't appreciate me. I wasn't getting enough money, all this. So why is this boss showing up for me? What is it about me that I have to learn about myself? I was relying on him to make sure that I felt good about myself, you see? So once I let that go, and I kept fighting with him for 5 years about giving me a raise. And I literally let it go. And I said, you know what? This is not about, I don't need to have the money to make sure to know that I am a valued human being, because I know what I'm doing in my job. And I just sat with that and I let it go and I forgave him. And I thought, you know what? And guess what? 3 weeks later, he pulls me in his office and he says, I want to give you a raise. See, what the surrender did was that once we battle about what is, it just keeps showing up for us, right? And full surrender is allowing the life lessons to come at us. Then we have to have that mirrored reflection back and saying, what is it showing up for me? Why is it showing up for me? What is it about me that I need to change and grow so that I can be authentic and I can live from my heart space? and that I can truly love myself. You see, if you have,
Beautiful. That's what it
yeah,
means.
that's exactly what surrender is to go with life's flow. Whatever challenge comes up for you, you have to trust that there is a purpose and a reason for it showing up. And it can be harsh lessons. Who wants to have a child die when they're 3 years old as a mother? Nobody. That's an awful soul lesson, But, so many people go through tragedies, and through the afterwards, they say, I learned so much about the beauty of life, the beauty of friendship, the beauty of self-love, the beauty of forgiveness, all of those incredible lessons that people take from tragedy. And they reflect on that years later, if they can sit in the forgiveness of self and others.
I got that. Beautiful. That's eye-opening. And I'll just learn something new. So to bring this to an end, Peggy, what would you like to leave the audience with, like a final thought? And to those folks who would like to reach out to you, learn more about everything you're doing, or they want to ask questions as to everything we've discussed today, how can that be possible?
Well, I have a website called peggyo.com.au. It's a pretty straightforward one because my surname is a bit long. I offer one-on-one sessions, and I do some groups as well. I do some karma clearing groups. I'm in the Australian time zone, so it's always a little bit tricky for people in North America to connect to some of my groups. But I am part of this medical intuitive directory, and there's a lot of incredible healers, medical intuitives, sound specialists all on that directory, and they offer a lot of groups as well. So I highly encourage you to check that out, and I'll leave you with that link. And I offer one-on-one sessions at the moment because of the nature of the work that it is. I only do one a day. It's a very intense process, and it's quite energetically draining on me. I'm the real deal, and I move a lot of energy. I'm not a fake person here. So, and I also have a YouTube channel that we just started, just interviewing a few people, just medical intuitive at YouTube. It's pretty straightforward. And there's a few videos on there of all the people in the directory who I've interviewed and some other inspiring people. And they're all the real deal. So I guess that's where you can connect with me. And a couple of final thoughts that I'd like to leave the audience with is, there's a lot of, there's a big, push to the self-healing journey and the power of self-healing, the power of manifesting and all of that. But you can't manifest anything unless you love yourself, right? You really have to sit. Your first job on this earth is to love yourself, right? It is because once you love yourself and you have this beautiful, you emanate a high vibration. And I'm not talking about ego, like, I'm the goat, I'm this, I'm that. I'm talking about deep, just beautiful self-love from the heart space with no ego, not attached to the outcome, not how much do people love me, how much money am I going to make, but just that pure being of who you are. When you enter a room, those people, their vibration will rise because of your heart space. So that's how you heal. You start healing the world by loving yourself. That is, I tell my clients this every single day. I know you forgive everyone else, but you haven't forgiven yourself. You can love everybody else and be super empathic and kind to yourself. You got to love yourself. And you got to ask. They're there. All the spirits and divine help, they are there to support you. So connect.
Beautiful words. I've got a club for you. You start healing the
gorgeous.
world by loving yourself.
Yeah.
I got that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So that's going to be the end of the show, Peggy. Thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing this high-opening, invaluable insight with us. It means a whole lot. Thank you.
You're so welcome. It's a pleasure.